Hello, gorgeous people. This is the Hot Girls Learn Hockey podcast. My name is Sarah. If you're new here, this is the podcast where we talk about all things hockey, the what to knows, the who to knows, and everything in between. Today's episode, I am so excited to film. And you want to know why? It's because we're not talking about real hockey players or real team or real people, really. But I'll elaborate on that in a second. But first, I just want to tell you guys about the last two games that I went to. So if you don't know, I am a San Jose Sharks fan. I don't want to hear anything else about that. I know I've already heard all the jokes, and I don't care. I'm investing in the talent, okay? But regardless, I went and saw them play against Chicago last week, and then just recently against Boston, and we won both games, which is crazy. This is the first time I've ever gone to a Sharks game and watched them win, like, in person. I mean, they've won other games, but I've only ever watched it, like, on TV. But being there actually in the arena when they won was, like, so cool. The energy was immaculate. The vibes were high, and it was just a great time. And I finally got myself a hockey sweater. A sweater is essentially a jersey. That's what they call their jerseys, is they call them sweaters. So I finally got my first hockey sweater for my, what number is he? Probably number one. No. Probably, I think he's my number 2, Pookie. Which is ironic because his number is number 2 on the team. It's Will Smith. So I got a sweater with his number on it and his name, and I'm very, very excited to continue wearing that. I wore that to the last one. So I think I'm gonna wear it to the next one. Hopefully we do win. But yeah, just wanted to let you know that it was a very, very fun 2 games that I just went to. But yeah. So what do I mean when I say we're not talking about real people? Well, I don't know if you remember, but in my very first episode, and also like 2 episodes ago, I kind of mentioned this as well. I talk about how I got into hockey, really, through romance books, hockey romance books in particular, and how reading those was like, I don't know, I just loved reading them, and that it made me and one of my friends just be like, you know what, let's just go see a game in person and see what all the hype is about and the fuss is about. And I've just got hooked. Yeah, it's very funny how I got into it. But yeah, mentioning that gave one of you guys that watches the show, you know who you are, and I love you so much for suggesting this. They wanted me to do an episode about the books that got me into hockey, more specifically about this very specific author's book series. And so I am dubbing this episode all about the BUCU, which is the Briar University Cinematic Universe, even though it's not really cinematic because they're not in movies. They're in books, except the first series is being turned into a mini-series, I think, on Amazon Prime, so that's cool. But yeah, so we're going to talk about this very specific author's books that I read and just fell in love with literally every single character. They're just so well written, and their stories, oh my gosh, I'm just in love with them. So that's what we'll be talking about today. First things first, we'll have our cute little drink. I have, once again, my non-branded black cherry seltzer. So cheers. Okay, so this author's name is Elle Kennedy, and she has 3 separate series, all surrounding the hockey team at this fictional university called Briar University. And in this universe, Briar is a Ivy League school. They also have a men's hockey team that are multiple Frozen Four winners. If you don't know what the Frozen Four is, it's pretty much like the Stanley Cup, but for like college hockey. It's like what they aim to win. Playing college hockey. And the whole premise of the series is just following these different characters. All the guys in every single book are all hockey players. Some of them do play for Briar. Some of them play for a different team. Actually, I think only one of them plays for a different team. But I mean, we'll get to that when we get to their book. So that's the whole kind of background of the universe that we are in. We are in this universe where there is an Ivy League university named Briar, and they have an outstanding men's hockey team with some even more outstanding guys on the team, and they're equally as outstanding girls. So a few things I want to get out of the way first. I'm not going to give major spoilers, just because if you want to read these books, I want you to read them and not have very critical plot points just ruined for you, because they are really, really good books. I really do recommend that you go and read them. They are just like very well written characters, and I love all of them with like all my heart. So no spoilers. I'm not gonna go like in deep depth on every single detail in every single book, because that would take me like forever to do, and I don't have all day. Also, number 2, a couple of these books do have, very sensitive topics. They deal with issues that, unfortunately life throws at us, whether that's having an abusive parent, getting assaulted physically or not physically, losing a parent, losing a friend. They touch so many topics that may be sensitive for some readers. There are warnings in the beginning of the book that will let you know what they depict, but yeah, I'm not going to go over them because those are big plot points and big spoilers for those books, so I'm not going to mention them. I just want to give that preface in case anybody did want to read these books. And then third and lastly, these all do contain spicy scenes, at least like 3 or 4 spicy scenes per book. It's, some more than others, but regardless, they all do contain some form of smut. So if, again, you are sensitive to that and you don't like it, or you just you're not sensitive but it's just not your bread and butter, you can skip over those parts. They're still really, really well written books, aside from all that stuff. But yeah, so just wanted to get those out of the way first before I go over any of them. But without further ado, let's dive into the BUCU, shall we? Now, for the sake of helping me stay in order of these books and everything and remember certain names and everything, I did make another chart on my whiteboard. For my Spotify listeners, it just is a big whiteboard that has like the names of the books and then just little plot points just to help me along. But for my people watching on YouTube, I'm going to show you it because I spent a lot of time doing it, and I don't know, I think it looks nice. Ta-da! I mean, it is just a bunch of writing, but I put little hearts in between all the couples, which is pretty cute. But yeah, so there's 3 different book series in this universe that Elle Kennedy has written. The first one is called the Off-Campus series, and that contains the books The Deal, The Mistake, The Score, The Goal, and also this one called The Legacy, which is not on this board, but I'll explain why in a little bit. And then the next book series is called Briar U, and that contains The Chase, The Risk, The Play, and The Dare. And then we go, and there's a big time jump. So that book, The Legacy, it sits somewhere in between Briar U and Off Campus, and then this next series, which is called Campus Diaries. And Campus Diaries contains the Graham Effect, the Dixon Rule, and the Charlie Method. So yeah, these are all completed series at this point. I know that Elle Kennedy did say that she was going to do another series based around Briar U or Briar University, but for now, these are the ones that we have. And actually, the Campus Diaries just wrapped up with their third book that just came out last month, The Charlie Method, which was so good. I cried a lot, but I'll get into that in a little bit. But let's start at the very beginning with the first book in the series, which is called The Deal. And the couple in question in this book is the couple that starts off everything, Garrett Graham and Hannah Wells. So a very important note for this first book series is that there are 4 hockey players on the Briar's men's team, and they all live together in one house. I think they call it the hockey house or something like that. I don't know if that actually has a name in the series. I call it the hockey house in my head, but maybe it actually is called that. I really can't remember. But the 4 guys that live in this house are Garrett Graham, this man in our first book, also a man named John Logan, a guy named John Tucker, and then my favorite character, Dean De Laurentiis Hayward. Or is it Dean Hayward De Laurentiis? I think it's Dean De Laurentiis Hayward. Love him. I can't wait till we get to his book. It's the third in this book series, so excited. And then also, because John Logan and John Tucker both have John as their first name in this universe, they just like go by their last names. So John Logan just goes by Logan. John Tucker just goes by Tucker. So I'll be referring to them as Logan and Tucker instead of their full names once I start describing their books. So this first book, The Deal, is your quintessential love story of boy meets girl. Girl is annoyed by boy and likes a different boy. And then original boy just falls so hard for girl. And then, girl just falls so hard for boy. Garrett Graham is the big man on campus. He is the captain of the hockey team and has been drafted by the Boston Bruins, but he's not going and playing for the NHL right away. He wanted to get his college degree first. He, is a huge ladies' man, always says that he does not want a relationship. That is until he meets Hannah Wells. She is a music major. She's a beautiful singer, writes songs, plays instruments. They meet each other because they're in a class together, and they help each other out. Hannah tutors Garrett on the class subject, and then Garrett helps out Hannah with initially getting with this other guy. But along the way, they find that they actually like each other. Like I mentioned in the beginning, there is sensitive topics that these books deal with. Garrett and Hannah are no exception. They both have a very traumatic past, things that happened to them before the book, but they confide in each other and handle emotions with each other about these things. Again, not going to spoil it, but they are very sensitive topics, so just be cautious going into that book. So that is The Deal without giving too much away. Now let's go on to the next book in the series, which is called The Mistake. The Mistake is with John Logan, or just Logan, and Grace Ivers. So Logan, just like how Garrett was, he is also a ladies' man. He loves to hook up. He loves playing hockey. But unlike Garrett, Logan, he does want to play for the NHL, but there are certain things that are holding him back from making himself eligible to be drafted, which they deal with in the book. And this is a love story of boy meets girl by accident, and boy royally screws up and then realizes that he screwed up and does everything he can to win girl back. And boy, does he win her back. That's my favorite part of this book. This book is probably my favorite in the whole series, as I've just reread it so many times because I love just I love a good redemption arc for, even though what he did wasn't too bad, but it was like an asshole move. But who was he winning back? Who is Grace Ivers? She is a little freshman at Briar. All four of the hockey players are all juniors in these first two books, and then it's in the mistake that Logan is a junior and Grace is a freshman, and they meet, and then in the mistake is when they go into all their senior years, and then Grace goes into her sophomore year. But yeah, when Logan meets Grace, she's a freshman, and she's just a very like shy, kind of quiet girl who wants the whole college experience, and then she accidentally meets Logan, and again, he royally screws up things with her. She's mad at him, and then he does everything he can to win her back, and he does. She doesn't have any like super sensitive plot points, other than just like she has a friend who is like not the best friend, but that you can read all about that. But Logan does deal with family issues, specifically a parent who has issues, without saying too much, and that is what is keeping him from making himself eligible to be drafted by a team, even though he really does want to play for the Boston Bruins. So they deal with that in the book. So I'm not going to tell you whether or not he decides to go and play for them. But yeah, so that is The Mistake. It is my favorite book. Love it, love it, love it. And now we are going into The Score, which is the next book after The Mistake. And we've been introduced to both these characters before, but this is their love story. It's my man Dean De Laurentiis and Allie Hayes. So Dean is a rich kid from Connecticut. Both of his parents are like loaded. They're lawyers. And unlike Garrett and Logan, Dean doesn't really have any interest in playing in the NHL after college. He is going into law school to become a lawyer, just like his parents and his big brother. And he is so funny. I love him. He is just, the things that come out of his mouth are just hilarious. And a big part of his character, oh gosh, how am I going to word this without being too like graphic? You know what? To be frank, the boy fucks. He loves sex. His nickname on campus is Dean the Sex Machine because he like hooks up with girls like on pretty much like a daily basis. So definitely would not be who you would expect to settle down and be a boyfriend, but he is in his ways until one night, Miss Allie Hayes, who is best friends with Hannah from the first book, she breaks up with her boyfriend, and her and Dean have a little drunk hookup. And it's supposed to be just a one and done thing, but they just can't get out of each other's minds. So what do? I guess you'll have to read to find out, but I mean, it does end up with them being together. Both of them don't have super, super traumatic plot points for their backstories. There's, slight things that are quite upsetting. But there is one thing that does happen in this book. It doesn't happen to any of the main characters. It's a side character. But it is just so heartbreaking. I'm not going to give anything else away other than that. It's just, I cried reading this book. It was rough. But you'll just have to read to find out why. And that is The Score. Oh, I totally didn't even talk about Allie. Miss Allie Hayes is a theater major. She loves acting. She acts in plays, and she also has an agent who's trying to book her things like pilots and movies and such. So she is drama queen, but like in the very best way, and we love Allie. So yeah, that is the score, and now let's go into the next book called The Goal, and that has Mr. John Tucker, and Miss Sabrina James in this book. So Tucker is a sweet Southern boy from good old Texas who made his way to the Northeast and is playing on a hockey team, and he is just all around like a great guy. Would give you the shirt off his back if you asked, and is someone who, when he wants something, he makes it his mission to get it. And what did he want? He wanted Sabrina James, and that he got. So who's Sabrina James? She is a grinder. She is a straight A student trying to get into Harvard Law School and become a lawyer. She works like 2 or 3 jobs. She slays. We love her. And, they meet, they, hook up, they start dating, and everything is kind of just going along smoothly until something happens. Life throws a very unexpected curveball in their way. And then they learn how to handle this together and figure out what their future is going to look like. Isn't that super cryptic? Go read the book if you want to know what happens and what that curveball is. One thing I do want to mention about The Score and The Goal is that these 2 books are happening at the same time. So the events in these 2 books are both happening at the same time. It's just obviously The Score is from the perspective of Dean and Allie, and then The Goal is from the perspective of Sabrina and Tucker. But they're going through the same thing, so that means that the very heartbreaking thing that does happen in The Score also is happening and is mentioned in The Goal. And that is the 4 books dealing with the first 4 couples. The fifth book in the Off-Campus series is The Legacy, but I'm not going to talk about the legacy and things that happen in there until after I talk about Briar U. So speaking of Briar U, let's get into it. So the first book in the Briar U series is called The Chase, and this deals with a character named Colin Fitzgerald and Summer De Laurentiis Hayward. That last name sounds familiar, doesn't it? I hope it does, because this is Dean's little sister. She is at Briar now after getting kicked out of her last college, which they do go into. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but the whole book starts with Summer coming to Briar for the first time to do her junior year, and she moves into a house with 3 hockey players, the aforementioned Colin Fitzgerald. There's also a guy named Hunter Davenport and a guy named Mike Hollis, who I'll talk about in the next book. But they're all living together, and Colin Fitzgerald, they call him Fitz for short, so that's what I'll refer to him as. Fitz and Summer, they are opposites in literally every single way that you can even possibly think of, even more opposites than like Garrett and Hannah. Fitz is a kind of nerdy art guy who loves designing video games and wants to do that for a living after college, is all tatted up, pretty much like a hot athlete nerd. And Summer is your quintessential rich girl from Connecticut, loves One Direction, shopping, Prada, is just the girliest girl that ever girled, and we love her for that. She is also for the girls. She's super funny. But yeah, they're opposites in every single way, but they just are drawn to each other in such a way that it's hard to stay away, and so they don't stay away. They fall for each other, and that's that. There's nothing huge in their past that is brought up in the book. There is something that is like really icky and gross that does happen to Summer, and also something that happens to another character, but they're both along the same lines, which is like a really gross plot point and not okay at all, but not gonna get into it. And Summer in this book meets this girl who is also like the exact opposite of her, but their friendship just works. And her name is Brenna Jensen, and she is the topic of the next book called The Risk. Now, I need to preface before this book, there's a very important character that I've kind of failed to mention in my past little spiel that I just went on all those other books. And I should have mentioned him earlier because this man is in every single book in one capacity or another. And that is the coach of the Briar men's hockey team. His name is Chad Jensen. If you put two and two together, yeah, Brenna Jensen is Coach Jensen's daughter. So she knows all the guys, is friends with all the guys, and she's going to Briar for the first time just like summer, although she is technically a junior, but she did 2 years at community college before going to Briar. And her story is, oh my gosh. There's like a scene with her and her dad in this book, and it is so heartbreaking, and I cried reading it for the first time. I even cried when I was rereading it the other day. It's just so sad. But Brenna is she's in a bit of a bind because she's fallen for a guy named Jake Connolly. I didn't mention Jake in my list of Briar players. Oh my god, I wonder why I didn't. Oh, it's because he doesn't play for Briar. He plays for Harvard. He is a Harvard hockey player. He plays for the team. He's actually the captain of the men's hockey team at Harvard. And he is, just like Garrett Graham was, he's also drafted to an NHL team, but he's drafted to the Edmonton Oilers. He's actually like one of the best players in the country in this universe, and is, super talented. And so him and Brenna just fall for each other hard, but it's kind of, I don't want to say it's like a Romeo and Juliet type situation, because literally no one's forbidding them to be together. It's just like, it doesn't look good having like the daughter of the coach of one team dating the star player on one of their rivals. Even though it's not their main rival, that rival for Briar is this college called Eastwood College. But it's still like they see each other in secret, and then like, it comes out and there's a whole backlash on it. But their story is very, very sweet and cute. He definitely falls hard first, which I love. Get a man like Jake Connolly. There's a quote in there which is super, super sweet that he says. It's kind of towards the end. It's just so cute. But aside from Brenna and Jake in this book, in The Risk, this is where the aforementioned Mike Hollis, the other player who lives with Fitz, Summer, and Hunter, he meets his girlfriend named Rupi. And I'll say this right now, I so wish that Mike and Rupi got their own book, because this couple is literally the most insane couple ever. Insane in a really good way. They drive each other crazy. It's like if they're not like having an argument with each other, they're like making out or hooking up. And Rupi is a girl who knows what she wants, and she wanted Mike Hollis, and she got Mike Hollis. She's very much like Tucker in that sense, where he's like, I want this person, I'm gonna go get them. And that's what Rupi does. And Mike's just a willing participant who does love Rupi a lot. Mike, just like Dean, the things that come out of his mouth are just, you just have to read it to understand it. And I so wish that Mike Hollis was a real person. I would love to have been friends with him. He's just so funny. But yeah, and The Risk is when he meets his girlfriend. But we don't really know too much about what they like do on, because they don't have a book, which is really upsetting. But yeah, that is The Risk. The next one in this series is called The Play, and this is Hunter's story. And Hunter Davenport, how do I explain Hunter Davenport? He is rich kid from Connecticut. Originally wasn't even going to play hockey, but it was Dean actually that convinced him to try out for Briar's team and got him, to want to be on the team. He is a major, major ladies man, just like Dean. He taught him his ways and loves hooking up. Although in this book, it starts with him on a celibacy pact for himself. He's not hooking up with anybody until the end of the season, just to focus on winning the Frozen Four, because I'm pretty sure he's the captain starting in this book of the team, and he wants to just focus on being a good hockey player. And that's all fine and dandy because he then gets matched up in a class for this kind of class project thing with a girl named Demi Davis. So who is Demi Davis? She is a gorgeous, gorgeous girl who is a medical student. She is half Black, half Latina. Her mother, I believe, is from, I want to say Venezuela or El Salvador, some South American country. I can't remember. I haven't read the book in a while, but her mom is Latina. Her dad is Black. So she is the first and also, sadly, the only non-white character that is like one of the main girls. But we love Demi. She is in medical school, like I mentioned before. Her dad's a doctor. He's a surgeon, and he wants her to become a doctor or a surgeon or something like that. But she really wants to be a psychologist or a therapist, just help people out with their mental health. And there is a part of this book where she really is put to the test on whether or not that would be a good career for her. But yeah, her story starts, she has a boyfriend at the beginning of the story, but obviously something happens and they break up, and suddenly her friend Hunter's looking a little hot, but Hunter's not getting a girlfriend or hooking up with anybody. So what's gonna happen? I don't know. There's nothing too traumatic that happens in this book. There's, like I mentioned before, a situation that Demi's in where she is put to the test on whether or not she would be a good therapist, which is a very vague thing to say, but I don't want to give away too much. Remember, guys, no spoilers. But yeah, that is the play. That's Hunter and Demi's love story. And now this leads us into the last book in the Briar U series. It's the book called The Dare. And this deals with Mr. Connor Edwards and Ms. Taylor Marsh. I didn't mention Connor earlier because he was kind of a later addition to the team, but he is a hockey player from California who goes to play at Briar and is just like, Hunter was and Dean was, very much a ladies' man, likes to hook up, likes to go to parties and such. And he is at a sorority party when he meets a sorority girl named Taylor Marsh, who is a education major. She wants to become a teacher. And Taylor is a plus-size girl. She is a little bit bigger, a little bit curvier. And so she, in a real bitch move, gets dared by the president of her sorority to approach Connor. And they do like a whole fake dating trope kind of thing. And along the way, she learns some lessons about, accepting herself. Connor learns to accept his mistakes in his past and confronts his mistakes from his past. What does that mean, Sarah? I don't know. Go read the book to find out. But yeah, they're a really cute couple. They do lift each other up a lot because both of them, they do deal with, issues of self-worth and not seeing much worth in their futures. But they lift each other up. It's a really good book. And that is the end of the Briar U series. So now I'm going to bring up that book, The Legacy, that I mentioned earlier. This is kind of I believe a 2-year time jump from the events of the off-campus, if I'm remembering correctly. Yes, because Grace in this book is a senior, but all the other guys and girls have already graduated. Yep. So The Legacy mainly deals with the 4 original couples. So Garrett and Hannah, Logan and Grace, Dean and Allie, and then Tucker and Sabrina. But the couples in the chase, the risk, the play, and the dare, they all get like brief mentions or are in just like small parts in the legacy. But it deals with things that happen to our four main couples and kind of life after college and the things that life throws at them. It's really good setup, especially the very end of the book is a very good setup for the next book series, which is the Campus Diaries. So the Campus Diaries, we're doing a big time jump. We are now about 20-ish, like I want to say at least like 22, 23 years into the future after the events of Off Campus. And this first book, The Graham Effect, deals with a boy named Luke Ryder, who just goes by Ryder. He only goes by his last name, kind of like how Tucker and Logan do. And a Miss Gigi Graham. That last name sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? That's because Gigi Graham is the daughter of Hannah and Garrett. Super cute. They get married, and they have a kid. Or do they have two kids? Or do they have like a whole bundle? I don't know. They at least have one because it's Gigi's book. And she is a senior in college at Briar. She, like her dad, plays hockey. She plays for the women's team at Briar. And her whole goal is to make it into the USA women's hockey team for the Olympics. That's her prerogative. That's what she's working towards. And starting at the beginning of her senior year, there's a main event that happens. I don't really remember what happens to Eastward. I think their funding just went out or they just went bankrupt. I don't know, but that college no longer exists. And so because of that, the Eastwood sports teams are merging with Briar. And if you forgot what I mentioned earlier, Briar's rivals, their main rival, it was Eastward College. So now these two teams have to merge together. Some of them, their coaches are coming and they have to figure out who's going to stay and who's going to go. But now we have a whole new pool of players come in. There's, egos being checked, just a lot of like petty fighting and stuff, and as they learn to become a team. And one of the co-captains is a guy named Luke Ryder, like I mentioned before. He is from Eastward. He's one of the co-captains of this new Eastward Briar team. It's just Briar team, but he's from Eastwood, and he along with two of his friends, Shane Lindley and Beckett Dune, make it onto the new Briars team. With a guy named Will Larson, as well as this other guy. I can't remember his name, but he's Gigi's ex. So their love story is very much again, I don't want to say it's like Romeo and Juliet because they're not being forbidden from being with each other, but they just like Brenna and Jake in The Risk, they hide their relationship for a long time until it kind of comes out into the open. But they're a very, very cute couple. Definitely airs on some of the more spicier sides of scenes. And there's a huge plot twist that happens. And you're like, oh, okay. Was not expecting that. But yeah, sure, brother. Okay. And now this leads us into the next book. So the next book is Shane's book, Shane Lindley, who I mentioned before. He was from Eastward, and then he went to Briar once the schools merged. And also a lovely lady named Diana Dixon. Diana is one of Gigi's best friends. I think Diana is Gigi's best friend, and she is a cheerleader for Briar's football team. She's the head cheerleader, actually. And their whole thing is, it's like a forced proximity trope because they both live in the same condo complex thing. It has that trope as well as another fake dating trope, mainly because Shane wants to make his ex jealous, but then they fall for each other for real. Their banter back and forth is so adorable. Shane is also the first and only non-white male main character. He is half black, half white. His father is white and his mother is black. And he also has dreams of being an NHL player. He's, I'm pretty sure he's drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks, but I mean, just like Garrett, he's finishing out his college degree before he goes and plays in Chicago. And Diana, I can't remember what her major was, but I do know she loves, dancing, and she loves trash reality TV. That's one thing they bond over. And she also has a very upsetting plot point in this book. Unlike trauma from, the other books and the other girls, where it happens outside of the book, and you kind of just learn about what happened, in passing. Diana goes through a very traumatic event in this book, as well as Shane. He does go through a very traumatic event as well. And they're just very much there for each other, and supporting each other in the best ways that they can. It's very heartbreaking, both things that they go through. I cried hard during this book. It's yeah, well, that got really sad. It's a really cute book. They just both go through some shit like in the book, which is like, I'm used to these very traumatic plot points being in these books, but I'm used to them happening not while I'm reading them. They're like things that have just been mentioned because they've already happened before this book even started. But to see the characters go through these things is very not upsetting, but it's very just like, it makes me emotional. And on that note, let's go on to the third and last in the Campus Diaries series. It's the book The Charlie Method. And this one is a little bit of a different book. It deals with the characters Beckett Dune, who I mentioned earlier, who came from Eastwood, and Will Larson. I think I mentioned him earlier. He was on Briar's team, and they become really good friends. And they are such good friends that they have a thing where they like to share. And I'm not talking about sharing food or sharing clothes. They like to share girls in the exact way that you're thinking. It's just like a thing that they do. And they use this like dating app to find willing participants. And that is where they meet a girl named Charlie Kingston. She goes by Charlotte or Charlie. Charlotte is her full name, and Charlie is her kind of nickname. And she is a STEM student, sorority girl, all around goody good by day, but by night she's Charlie. She is a girl who loves to race fast cars and just hook up. She has like two sides to her, but they're both her. She's Korean American. She was adopted into a white family from Korea. So she also is handling the emotions of, not feeling like you belong, wanting to connect with your birth parents or your birth family. So she's going through that, as well as, dealing with these emotions that she's feeling towards both of these guys, Beckett and Will, and coming to terms with the fact that she likes both of them, and, they both, like her, and the whole social stigma of liking two individuals and becoming a polyamorous couple. This trope is called wide shoes in, book talk terminology. It's, it's kind of self-explanatory. It's like why choose one when you can have both. And it can be either way. I've seen, I've seen like a girl with like 3 guys or 2 guys. I've seen a guy with like 2 or 3 girls. It's it varies, but this book deals with two men and a girl, you know, Beckett, Will, and Charlie. Beckett is going through his own stuff. He's trying to figure out what he wants to do after college and what career he wants to take. He also has a really heartbreaking thing that's happened in his past that gets brought to light. We're led to believe it's one thing that happened, but it's actually a even more sad plot point. And we help him deal with, or we see Charlie and Will help him deal with his emotions through that past event. And then Will is just dealing with a really overbearing politician parent. His dad's a congressman or something. I don't know. His dad is not my favorite person, but he is struggling with the whole persona of being like the perfect son, because that's what his dad expects, being a politician and being in the public eye all the time. And he, along with Charlie, is also struggling with this whole new set of emotions that he has, where he's like, I love this girl and I want to be with this girl, but I also want Will to be with her as well, and I want us all to be together. This book hit me like left and right, made me cry, made me laugh. I cried mostly kind of towards the end, and it's just what a way to end a book series with a why choose romance, man. So good. And yeah, that is the BUCU. So I really, really hope that you are inspired to read these books. They're on Kindle Unlimited, all of them, as well as if you just go to Target and you want to buy the physical copies, they keep them there, as well as Barnes & Nobles or anywhere that you get your books. They are 10 out of 10, so good. I've gone back and reread every single one of them, except for the Charlie Method. I've only read that one once, but I'm planning to go back and reread it, eventually. But yeah, that is all that I have for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It is a little bit different than what you're probably used to. You're probably used to me talking about actual hockey and not these fake hockey players. But I just wanted to share my knowledge about these books, because I don't know anyone in my real life that has read them. So this is my outlet to yap about them and not annoy anybody. So yeah, I don't know what next episode's going to be yet. I have a couple of ideas in my noggin, but we'll see what exactly I plan to do. It'll be a little surprise for both of us. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to this on Spotify, please make sure to give the show a good rating. Thank you so much for listening or watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!